me to go.
We're here today in Adiaha's Bluegrass camp in Kingal, Osho. And we're with Billy and Mary, who were on stage last night here in the disco. And it was fabulous. How did you enjoy performing here for us with the others? Was that easy, or did you find it was kind of a small group?
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, it was so great.
Okay.
I love camps because you get to know everybody that's in the audience in a really intimate way. So a lot of these folks are students or people that we've been picking with in the hallways, and so it's a great feeling to get up there and perform some stuff for such a lovely crowd.
And some of the music that we were playing last night, we more typically play it as part of our quartet that we started fairly recently. So it was fun to just see what was going to happen, with some of the cues and different parts of the arrangement without the other people there and without the other harmony parts. I normally sing bass, so occasionally I'd throw out another part, just kind of on the spot and just kind of hope for the best.
Well, I think we noticed that you seamlessly interacted, and actually Tom and I saw you, I think with Shelby and her husband, Joel LaRoche. And for me, I wasn't even thinking about that last night. I was just looking at how well you could just read what the other one was going to do or improvise, and so it was fabulous. So we'd like to ask you some questions. You do so many different things around the world. Would you like to talk a bit about your recent projects that you're into, different places?
Yeah, sure.
My projects are farming and raising children and acting as a nurse when I'm not playing music. But Billy's got some traveling music projects.
Yeah. Well, my music career has developed in a way that I wasn't really aware that it could be what it is right now. We have like kind of the somewhat traditional model of you have your band, and your band starts, maybe you play some local gigs, and then every now and then you go here and you do something, a special event or a festival, and you hope that it takes on a life of its own, and then it can become a career, and if not a full-time job, maybe a sizable part-time job where really part of your dependable income could be there. But since we had children, but before we had children, we kind of followed that sort of model. We had a band called the Biscuit Burners, and we were lucky enough that band really took off. We hadn't been a band for more than a year, and Mary had started playing bass for the band, and in less than a year, we were playing on the Grand Ole Opry with Vassar Clemens playing violin with us, and it was kind of unbelievable. But we had a bus, and we drove all over the country, and we went to Canada and came to Europe when we could, when there was a tour available for us to do, and that was our music life, was doing that. And then kids came along, and we actually brought them with us for a while, Bodie, the oldest boy, we brought him with us. I got a car seat and some big screws and went into the bus with a drill, just drilled it to the floor, and off we went. But after a while, it became pretty difficult to just juggle the childcare and everything, and so Mary decided to hang back home a bit more. And so the way that my career has developed lately, so that I don't need to just like jump on a bus and take off for 3 months, because they'd miss me a little bit. And I have all sorts of pet projects, that I do here and there. I created a concert series where I just write music that's kind of spur of the moment, and I tell all the artists that I know to give themselves an opportunity to do this, where if I think it, I write it. And I don't allow myself to say, oh, maybe that's not good, maybe I should do something else. It's like, if I think it, I write it. When I get to what I think might be the end, I name it the first words that come to my mind. And it's just kind of allowing myself a space to just be me and just trust my brain for whatever it happens to come up with, you know? And then most recently, we've put together a new project, Mary and I, now that the kids are older and we can actually get out and play some music together again, with the grandparents' support, which is absolutely crucial. And we joined forces with Shelby Means, who played for a long time with Della Mae, and her husband, Joel Timmons, who has a great band out of Charleston, South Carolina called Soldier and Train. And we got thrown together in a musical blind date. A promoter said, hey, what do you think about playing a set at our festival with these guys? And so we met them the night before our set, and the music ended up being so fun that we were like, hey, maybe we ought to do something with this. But we're on stage during our first set of music that we had ever played together. We just met. And in the middle of the set, Joel said, well, you know, maybe we ought to name this band something. Anybody have any ideas for a name? And we were in the shadow of a beautiful rock outcropping in Hot Springs, North Carolina, called Lover's Leap. And somebody yelled, yeah, about Lover's Leap. And we're like, all right, that's it.
We just thought you were all in love when we saw you on stage.
Oh, yeah.
You two and this two, so that was fine.
Yeah, it works as kind of that dual.
So can we take what you just said now and talk about dissolving boundaries between different kinds of music? It seems to me that a lot of us are trying to put labels on things. Is that bluegrass? Is that not bluegrass? What's this? Well, how do you feel about that? How should we approach that in Europe if we're asked that question?
Yeah, sure. I've been talking for a while. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I would think that, a lot of this music is the key to me, and my connection to it is how heartfelt it is. It came about in a time when things were really hard just to get food or get medicine, and we live on the side of a mountain, and we've cleared it and planted 60 fruit trees, so we know what it's like to be out there hard working the land and how exhausting that is, but also how fulfilling that is. And music as a connection with people is the most important thing. It's therapy for myself, but it's also something to get to share with people. And bluegrass, a lot of it was dancing music, old-time music. The mountain music where we live was this whole way for everyone to celebrate life and forget for a while all the hardships. And so I think if people are trying to express themselves from their heart, that is getting at the heart of the music. And there's all sorts of technical ways that it all connected, all the different instruments in this really magical way that became bluegrass. But I think it's, if you're not gonna, I think it's totally natural to like a style of music and to say, this is the only kind of music I like, this is the only jazz I like, this is the only classical music I like. People have that right to just like what they like. But for us, we have so many different influences in our life, and are so lucky to have access to so many styles of music and hear so many different things and get to play with so many different people. And all of the folks that we played with in Virginia growing up are in every note that we play. It's in the way that we hear a rhythm, or the way that we hear a harmony note, the way that they bend, or whatever it might be. It's all part of what has made us who we are as musicians. And so I'm not gonna, I can try to play a traditional bluegrass song and with my friends, and it'll probably sound pretty authentic because we know what the parts are supposed to sound like, but that's not necessarily my story. And so it's almost like putting on an act to just play that. It's an honor to be able to sit in that role and be in that, because it's a powerful place to bring music. But I've got my own story, and it's not just about living in a cabin, and it's not about catching a train and feeling alone. And
so last night you sang this gorgeous song from Hazel Dickens, and the room was absolutely still. People were mesmerized. That song connects to you, I think.
It does, and that's the story of humanity and the pain. And of course, I have relations that did work in coal mines, but no one I know right now did. But there's still, every day, there are people that are hurting in that way. And I work as a home health nurse now in Western North Carolina, and I meet people every day that are struggling just to get food on their table or get the medication that they need. And so when I tap into that space to sing that song, it's just a connection to my fellow humans.
So where do you both think what direction do you think bluegrass might take in the future? That's something people think about.
Yeah, one thing that I would just add to what Mary said, I like the way that you explained that, but I think that it was easier to have these specific genres of music basically before the iPod. Like I've called like our generation the iPod generation, and that's what ended up contributing to the lines really starting to blur. See, like when I was growing up, for some reason, I was a 3-year-old that started piano lessons that actually practiced. Like I liked it. I really liked music, and my hobby of collecting when I was growing up, I didn't do coins or baseball cards. I did music, and I wanted to have a recording from every country that I could find that had like their organic music, and their music that I didn't realize this at the time, but it's kind of their analogous music to like old time and bluegrass. Just people playing their thing, what they wanted to play. And so I had this collection going, but like at that time, the recording industry was completely different. And once a style had kind of, been formed, like in a region, and people would hear, oh, I like how they're doing that, I like how they're doing that, and it gets refined, and then at some point it becomes powerful enough to be a genre. And that happened with bluegrass, and of course that happened with rock and roll and with jazz and whatever. But then once the iPod came, now all of a sudden I've got this thing in my pocket, and I've got all these different things that used to be genres on shuffle, and I'm hearing all of these different things coming in. And so in order for me to live up to the music that I love, which is this organic, honest music, I have to listen to what's coming out of my soul or my brain, however you want to say it. So by virtue of this thing in my pocket that's shuffling all these different things into my ears, it has to come out like differently. There's just no way. If it doesn't, then I'm not painting my own picture. I'm looking at somebody else's picture and trying to make a copy of it, which is a very different thing. So, when I hear people talking about bluegrass and it needs to be this and that isn't bluegrass, like, while in a sense I understand that, because there's something about the power of that thing that happened. And I can see where there's certain rules to like making that thing happen. To me, the priority is more to have it be honest and organic. And so by virtue of that, it just has to come out differently. There's just no other way.
So one of the things that we really want to do as EBMA members and people that are working in the board is we'd like to have European bluegrass grow, and we're promoting that, and we'd like to have younger artists, of course, be supported, which is why we offer scholarships to camps and things like that. So you've been talking in the past, we've been listening to what you say in Europe, and you talked about your kids being in a bluegrass camp, and we're wondering, how do you both think we can encourage more young people to pick up an instrument?
Threaten them with video games.
Totally.
Candy and video games. No, you know, it's just so different now, and they have so much stimulus, you know, and there's this fake world that they're looking at, and I don't know. I mean, in a way, it's kind of scary. And in a way, I assume that it's the same feeling for the generation before us, seeing what we were being given and what we had to sort through to find something in the world. So I think it's both scary and to a certain extent, I'd like to trust that we'll evolve, you know, and our kids will find real things in the world that they can be a part of.
But the video game thing that he's saying is, I mean, it has come down to us as parents making it a priority for our children. They wouldn't have made it a priority to learn the fiddle, but that was one of the things. And we were kind of nervous about pushing them into something that they might not want to do, but we sort of agreed that it was important enough that we could push a little bit, and it didn't their days didn't have to be filled with only things that they enjoy. Which they've come around, you know. Our son who just turned 12, somebody asked him last year what his superpower was, and he said playing the fiddle. And it's true, you know. There was a time when he could not see how he would ever be grateful that we had made him practice, and it's coming around. And
it's like all those rudiments are there, you know, like he learned how to read music when he was 3.5, 4 years old. And so now that he's getting older and the world is of more interest, like actual things, you know, aside from these little video games and stuff, he's been armed with the rudiments of music. And so he's going to be able to jump into it and feel free and, you know, feel the joy of making it happen just so much quicker. But as far as like inspiring them to just be self-motivated and do it, I just don't know what to do aside from bring them to the events and let them see how much fun everybody's having. And
the festivals at home are kid-centric. They're family-centric. Yeah. You know, they a lot of these great music festivals have an entire kiddie area with bouncy houses and whatever, so they're excited to go to the festival. The parents can go and listen to some music, you go and get some cotton candy, you go, you know, it's back and forth. It's not just, I'm going to drag you around and make you sit and listen to bluegrass for 5 hours, you know. It's like it's a great event. And then the academies have kids academies. So like Billy was teaching at Rocky Grass this summer, and the kids were able to go to the kids academy, and they Bodie was actually with the adults, but Julian, you know, got to learn how to play bass, and it was the most precious thing. We came home, and after he had played his little bass, and I said, "Do you want to see my bass?" And he came upstairs and actually called down to Bodie and was like, "Bodie, you gotta come see this. You're not gonna believe this." And it had been the bass that had been in our house since his birth, but he just like saw it in this completely new way because he knew how to play bass. And he sat there and got blisters on his fingers, and you know, so it became something fun for him. And if you're playing with other kids in a kids academy, and it just has a feeling of play instead of work. And so we just have to figure out ways to bring that.
And the Rocky Grass, the Planet Bluegrass crew, is that they do an amazing job with that stuff. Like that, like I want to go to the kids camp. Yeah, the teachers are like, you know, some of our favorite musicians, and they just do such a good job, and they really make it super fun for the kids. And a lot of the kids now that are older, you know, that in their 20s that grew up doing that at Rocky Grass, they're like great players. Yeah. You know, they love it. So, I think that's a great model for I'm sure that EBMA has been keeping an eye on Planet Bluegrass, but yeah, like checking out what they're doing.
Do you know what we really wonder when you all get back on the plane and go back home? What do you say about European bluegrass?
Oh man, we love it. We love it. We sing the praises of coming out here. I mean, just the whole experience. For us, it's magical to walk through these old towns with beautiful old homes, and you don't have to see McDonald's, and you know, it's just like this really just beautiful culture, incredible food, incredible kindness and hospitality. We just feel so at home here. And
it's fun to hear all the different languages and just see the different food. That's a lot of what we bring back. I mean, music specifically, you know, when we were kids, you know, already records are going back and forth across the ocean. Jazz had already made it to Europe and then come back to America in a different way and re-influence each other. And so we know that the music is making it all around the world, and we know that, you know, that while, you know, somebody down the road here in Ashau didn't happen to be born in Lexington, Kentucky, you know, or Charlottesville, Virginia or something, they can have a brilliant musical mind, and then they hear the album and they're playing bluegrass, and they're playing great, like so many of the bands that we've heard here. A lot of them I hear at La Roche. I mean, just great bluegrass bands, and in Japan as well. And I have some great picker buddies in Calcutta, you know, that like know more about Bill Monroe than a lot of American mandolin players.
I think we have to get their addresses to become members.
And
I mean, we have to take our hats off to Adiaha. She said on Friday when we arrived there were 25 people here, and these are adults that are learning too who had never been here, and she's really built up this camp to what it is today, and it's wonderful to have you here.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be back.
Are you going to come and jam tonight till 3 in the morning with us?
Of course.
Like we did last night?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Thank you very much for this interview.
Oh, thank you so much.
Enjoy your trip.
Appreciate it.
He's had more hard luck than most men could stand. Well, the mines were his first love, but never his friend. He's lived a hard life, and hard he will die. Black lungs done got him, his time is nigh. He went to the boss man, but the boss man closed the door. Well, it seems you're not wanted when you're sick and you're poor. You're not even covered in their medical plan. Your life depends on the favors of man. hands icy cold as you reach for my life and you torture my soul. Oh, God, like waterfall, won't you hold down that dark cave where I spent my life digging my grave. Down at the graveyard, the boss man came with his little bunch of flowers. Dear God, what a shame. Take back those flowers. Don't you sing those sad songs. Die